Hey, my name is Sam Choi, and you've probably seen me in other videos, but I don't think I've ever shared a little bit about myself and done an interview. So I am 30 years old. I live in Minneapolis. I'm married to Joanna, and I have 3 children, 5, 3, and 1. That's not their name, but their ages, but I'm gonna protect their identities. I am a full-time pastor now, but when I was doing rideshare more regularly, I was in school, and so that's kind of my story there. I love basketball, I love rideshare, I love helping people, and so hence why I created the original video series Elite Rideshare, which gave me the kind of exposure to Ridester.com, as well as the interview I did with a well-known podcast. So I got into rideshare because I was in a situation where I was working on a thesis and trying to finish up school, about to have my 3rd child, and just needed the flexibility. And I was trying to think about a job that I could do whenever, but also a job that I could make more money depending on how well I perform. So I used to wait tables right when in high school and then in college, and I found that I could make just as much money as the veterans there just by outperforming, outserving, just being kind and caring for people. So I basically tried to hack rideshare, and I just went nuts trying to figure out rideshare, and I just went to great length to figure out how to hack it. And I believe I did for the most part, and became very successful in that. And it was just a huge blessing to carry me through school and then beyond that, as I started to start a church. And that's very much an entrepreneurial situation where you don't have, guaranteed income. And I just knew that anytime I needed money, rideshare was available. So it's been a huge gift to me. And so that's kind of how I got started in rideshare. Okay, so my most interesting ride was Saturday on this right before the Super Bowl, when the Super Bowl was hosted in the Twin Cities. It was snowing all day, and actually, technically it started on Friday. So I pick up this family. There was like 7 of them, and it was packed out my Toyota Sienna. And they were pretty friendly, and they just came from this huge Super Bowl show, and they liked me so much that they offered to have me drive them the following day to go to a special concert. A lot of celebrities were going to be there, and so I was like, who are you people? And he told me that he was basically a CEO of DirecTV, or affiliate of DirecTV. And he offered me $300 to pick him up and drop him off. And I had to have a special VIP sign on my car and everything. And they were just meeting all kinds of different celebrities there. And it was just a really, really fun group of people. But it was super interesting because they were how generous they were. So the biggest tip I ever received was probably the last guy I just mentioned, the CEO. So he offered me $300. Tip was included in that. The reality is it took me probably a total of 30, 40 minutes to pick him up and drop him off for that one time. And so $300, nothing else comes close. I've had a handful that were in the 50s and close to 100, but that was the biggest tip / cash gift that I ever received. So I worked for the Super Bowl weekend, and I keep bringing up the Super Bowl, and I know that's not fair for you who don't have the Super Bowl, haven't had the Super Bowl, but hey, this is what happened to me. Between Friday and Saturday, I'm going to combine days because I only drove 2 hours on Friday, and then I drove, I did 3 on Friday and then 7 on Saturday. I made $1,000. And so I made about $800 on Saturday for that one shift. That is including that $300 one, but I would say that because of my use of Surge and my customer service, I still would have made, because of the time I set apart to pick them up, drop them off, and schedule that and block off so that I don't get another part of the town before I can pick them up, and all the kind of different logistics you would have to do if you have to make a manual pickup. I could have made at least 150 during that time. So about $1,000 within 10 hours is my ultimate record. So my favorite platform to drive is Lyft. I do like Uber, I appreciate them. I don't get overly political. I think they've made amends and they're going on a great trajectory with their new CEO. But overall, the culture of Lyft and how they've treated us as drivers from the beginning has just been fantastic. I know the people who work in the offices on the field in Minneapolis, St. Paul, they're fantastic people. I have met the Uber people, they're great too, but I've just made a connection with them. Just overall, culture matters, and it's very important to me. Financially, I get paid about the same, but really I go back and forth between both the apps depending on what is most profitable at the time with surge and in demand and so forth. But I prefer Lyft, and so I have more Lyft rides than I do Uber. Biggest rookie mistake I see drivers make. There's a lot, but the biggest one is probably not being intentional. And that kind of is a catch-all, and it covers everything else, because there's a lot of drivers out there who just think that they're going out to drive and they're going to pick up people and just get them point A to point B, and they're not very intentional about so many things, whether it's the cleanliness of the car, the customer service, the way they drive, where to be, all the kind of factors. I mean, to be an elite driver, to make the most possible, you have to be good at a lot of things. You can't just be like, oh, what's the one silver bullet? It's a lot of different things, and so I find a lot of drivers just kind of mindless to go in there. I would say most of them, and that's why a lot of them quit, because they get discouraged by the lack of earnings they make, because they're not doing a great job and they just do it in a very lazy way. And so I would just say that that's the biggest mistake. It's just not doing it with intentionality and excellence. All right, so the biggest money-making tip I can give is work on a lot of things and be intentional about everything. So what I mean by that is, to make great money with rideshare, let's say you get good at customer communication, where you communicate well with them and you're a good conversationalist. That can bump up your numbers a little bit. But then let's say you work on becoming an excellent navigator. That can bump you up a little too. What if you add different amenities in your car? Bump you up a little more. What if you know how to juggle multiple apps? Bump you up more. What if you add or incorporate other apps like DoorDash or Postmates? Bumps you up even more. What if you know your city well? Bumps you up a little more. What if you know when to drive? Bumps you up. What if you have unlimited availability? Bumps you up a little more. I mean, every little factor counts, and so collectively it can make a big difference, but by themselves it may not be a great deal. So you got a person who's fantastic navigator, but they have a terrible personality. They're never going to be elite status. You got another person who's great personality, but they're sloppy. They don't clean their car. They're not careful with their driving. They're not professional, and so that's going to hurt. So the best money-making tip I can give you is think about the whole package and steadily chip away in improving your game in every one of those over time.